The second component we got was an incomplete education system. I don't know whether this was done by omission or commission, but remember when missionaries came, they were given to do social services, including education, and they were also brought in the religion. So the education system was specifically designed to give you knowledge enough to use technology, but not to create technology. And bundled together with the religion, we became slaves. Bundled together with the faith which says, you know, creation is for God, please. I don't want to tamper with things of God. If God has put here the soil, leave it as it is. But God told us to multiply. He told us to add value. That's not in the Bible. The disconnecting the spiritual beliefs from the Bible is the biggest problem that religion brings. And that's what interferes with the enterprise. Many, especially in this country here, many businessmen who have successful enterprises are very lonely people in church. They don't find a lot of company, people who will appreciate what they are doing. The incomplete education system produces technicians. Even our medical doctors are technicians. They know how to insert the cannula in your blood. They don't know how to design a cannula. They don't know how to do it. So we were trained to be technicians, to be promoters of innovation and technology developed elsewhere, but not to design and not to use. I can use a scalpel and do a surgery, delicate, but I'll use a scalpel made elsewhere. I'll use suture materials made elsewhere. I'll use anesthetic made elsewhere. And the world is very comfortable. That is until you run out of the raw materials which you are selling to acquire the technology. And then you begin to decline. And then you become discontent. And you begin to fight among yourselves. So the third thing which disrupts us is the inability to develop systems. This was omitted in the education system because you are able to use, and allow me to use this example, religions which are connected to international communities, they are very organized here because they came with a system designed for them. Now you try the indigenous churches. If you find a system, a functional system in those churches, you can't separate the pastor from the church. There's no system. Everything is mishmashed. So the failure, God is a God of systems. The Bible is a book of systems. So this illustrates the disconnection. You know, just look at it, just for me to speak here, there's a connection of more than 200 different components of systems. For me to be failure in one, I would not be able to talk. So we have very limited ability to develop systems. And that explains why. Because when you come to innovate, then you must put in place a system. Now, our people who leave Africa and they go elsewhere, they find themselves in an organized society. They find themselves with people who can develop systems. They become very prosperous. They become very, very successful. But we have never learned how to develop systems. And so, most of our things don't survive because God designed the world to run on systems. And since we can't develop systems, our indigenous innovations do not grow. Technology itself is putting components together and they begin to run in a coordinated manner. And without us learning how to develop systems, it's going to be very, very difficult for us to develop enterprise, serious enterprise, sustainable enterprise. Now, when we try to alter systems, for example, most of you, even those online, they complain about our education system. 50 years we are in charge, 50, now 60 years we are in charge. Why haven't you been able to change that system? You talk about it, but you can't change it. Our ability So we will have to make deliberate effort to learn how to create systems. And I find this because I deal with scientists. In the universities, they are able to innovate components. For example, they will invent something small, like, okay, vaccine. They will develop the molecule, but they cannot convert it into an enterprise because that requires development of systems. Then prioritization, prioritizing. As Africa exhausts the natural resources, and because natural resources are by nature cheap, they are of low value, and our inability to innovate and add value makes it that we are purchasing very expensive things, and so we are giving away a lot of the value that we would add on. So you become poorer and poorer. And so we don't invest in these processes. We don't invest in innovation. We don't invest in technology development locally. It's a long process, it's expensive. So that inability for us to invest in that patient system development. And at the risk of taking too much time, I want you to have an observation. Because of that, we don't engage in precision things. I want you to watch the Olympics and see where the Africans participate and where they don't participate. You will not find them in synchronized swimming, in target shooting, because we don't develop the art of precision. But give us marathon, 10,000 meters. Uganda has institutionalized ourselves there. 100 meters, anything that requires a lot of precision, we are not there. We are not there in gymnastics. We're not, because we do not prioritize the patient development. And so our innovations are usually abandoned. Our innovations are abandoned because taking it from where it is to where it is to become an enterprise which is going to transform the nation. But a country like Uganda needs about 1 or 2 successful innovations which become enterprises. And we will be changed. But we do not prioritize that. And so, in religion, they will start by rejecting, since they don't have the knowledge of how the technology is developed. And then as it becomes more common, the pastors and the higher levels start using. Eventually, they begin fundraising to buy it. And continuously, I don't know when I ever attended a church where they taught me how to develop a system. When they taught me how to translate knowledge into technology. Because we have disconnected God from livelihoods. So we find that many regions of Africa were at the same level at independence with a lot of Asian countries, but we have lagged behind because we have not configured or reconfigured ourselves to develop innovation and technology. This is despite all the declarations, all the Abuja Declaration, there are so many, the Kampala Declaration. Every city has a declaration. We have not prioritized it. By the way, this mindset is generic. It's ingrained, it is systematic. I find it everywhere. We find it easier to make political statements than to get down and develop a system to actually make sure we innovate, because it requires developing systems. So, and then after that 10 years is over, we've done nothing, we write another one. So what should we do? First of all, I really want to appreciate that we are talking about this. Because a few years it was taboo. We would be blaspheming to articulate things like this. It would be blasphemous. I would be excommunicated. One, we need to build the capacities. Capacities to reverse the gaps. And that means we must have accurate diagnosis. You know, if you pretend that there is no tumor and you keep putting a painkiller on top, the tumor will be there and it will kill you. By the time you're trying to do something, it will be too late. So we must build capacities. We must build the capacities to identify those problems. We must build the capacities of our religious leaders to have the courage to change their sermons, to reconnect back to the Bible, to admit we were wrong, so that they can now learn. By the way, technology was developed in monasteries. The monks couldn't marry, and yet they had to do a lot of meditation. And they were spending a lot of time washing clothes, so they started to develop technology, you know. But the modern African version of religion disconnects the human beings from a thinking process, from an innovative process. So we need to know that the church leaders, you are the custodians. There is a scripture in the Bible, Deuteronomy 29:29. There are revealed things on this side, and then there are unrevealed things on God's side, and you are the ones who stand in the middle to bring the unrevealed to be revealed, and that is through science. The moment you miniaturize science and you make it of the world and you separate it, we shall become more and more unnecessary, irrelevant. People who are doing those things will find room somewhere else. And then they will be developed and they will be abused. So we need to build capacities which address the key barriers. Preach the right things. Otherwise, once we saw that people's lives were miserable despite them being in our churches, we begin to preach miracles. And the miracles tend to happen more in the pastor's house than elsewhere. God didn't create this world to run on miracles. We need to provide models for a complete education. So we need to build functional prototypes that form examples. Growing up, I have always been thinking that there is something more. I don't find my intelligence any less than the intelligence of any other differently colored person. And when I focus, I perform way, way high, above. So I was reading books, I'm reading books, all the books are written in America. What about the African? Where is the role model? Where are they? Then set our priorities right. We need to prioritize the agendas. We tend to go in scatter in every direction. We need to set priorities. And this is something that we have innovated here. We have our National Science, Technology, and Innovation System. Uganda has a vision. We want to have a transformed Ugandan society from a peasant to a modern and prosperous country within 30 years. That 30 years started in 2010. So we have 18 years left. Using science and technology to achieve that goal, we have devised a strategy which we have called the loop and the leap. Unfortunately, you don't have a whole day to sit here listening to me, because if I start talking about it, that's how much it will take. So the leap and the loop. In summary, we are looking through the background because we have so many gaps. I mean, we have an education system which doesn't teach people to build systems. It doesn't teach people to innovate. It is incomplete. So we want to go and help people to pick that. And then we want to leapfrog. We want to take advantage of the abundance of knowledge, the abundance of technology, and we focus on innovation. How do we put that technology together? And we leapfrog. So that's our strategy. We call it the loop and the leap. We have prioritized industrial value chains. So instead of scattering, all innovators here and there, we have prioritized where we are investing as government. And this is beginning to pay off. So we have something we call the pathogen economy. This is an opportunity because I was given to talk about the opportunities created by the Ugandan government. Now, pathogen economy is an innovation of Uganda. initiated by yours truly. We are glad to donate something to the world. Pathogen economy is made here. It will appear in textbooks and wherever, but it is innovated in Uganda. That we stop looking at pathogens or disease-causing agents only as enemies, because globally, people have built economic empires by us fearing the pathogens and simply using their technology. So we are now considering pathogens as part of our natural resources, which need value addition. So there we have Uganda is building an end-to-end vaccine, diagnostics, and therapeutics, research, development, and manufacturing capacity. And we are making big strides by the day. Mobility is building anything that moves, a vehicle, bicycle. Until recently, most of these things were made elsewhere and were imported. Right now, we have state-of-the-art electric bus. I think it's the best. Okay, this is this. Because it is African, it is quality. Because it is African, it's cutting edge. And the technology, every day, the young men are working and working. So by September, we are going to be deploying Ugandan-made electric buses for mass transit in the city. Aeronautics and space engineering is another area where we are prioritizing, and our first satellite has been accepted by NASA. It will be launched in early September into space, a Ugandan satellite. And we are going to rapidly build this space program. Industry 4.0, you remember there was fourth industrial revolution. The things are moving so fast, so now we call it Industry 4.0 plus. By the end of this year, calendar year, Uganda should be launching our computer hardware manufacturing facilities and industrial park. Infrastructure innovations. You remember how everybody builds their industries everywhere, banking on our raw materials. So this is targeting, turning our raw materials into value addition. If you want to buy our raw materials, come and add value on them here, and maybe produce the final products from here. So we have a ban on export of minerals, and I have the beautiful responsibility of building teams and attracting like-minded people across the continent or across the world to add value to our minerals. I think Uganda is one of the richest countries in terms of minerals. But before that, it was just looted. You know, people take the iron ore, then they give us steel at 30 times the price. Then we have deliberate efforts to use science and technology to do productivity acceleration. And then we are working deliberately on import substitution. My teams are right now out there, and value-added exports. Now, these opportunities are open to all Africans. We think that if we prioritize, if we develop some prototypes, it will be easy to roll out. And now with the end-to-end East Africa community, we're really very proud of that. And Africa should not work on competition. Africa should work on complementation and collaboration. We should not start competing now. We should be complementing and we should be collaborating, because we have a short time to get ahead. It's our time to lead. It is our time. This millennium, we should be the ones leading. Yes, we are a few years late, but we are going to pull up and take the leadership. So this is our national science, technology, and innovation system. We have a secretariat, which I lead, and then we have value chains, which have been prioritized. And then Remember, I told you we don't know how to build systems, but I'm talking about a system. Now, this system is Ugandan innovated, a system that drives technology adoption, a system that translates innovations into enterprises. And so in the office, we actually have a whole branch, we call it support services, whose responsibility is enterprise development and enterprise promotion. We have research in the university, then we took it out to develop minimum viable product into an incubator somewhere outside the city and started to develop and optimize the buses, and now we are working at turning it into an enterprise, a successful enterprise, and we are going to have the most successful, most valuable indigenous motor vehicle manufacturing enterprise on the continent. So in summary, my dear friends, Africa aspires to have socio-economic development, but we continue to lag behind, not only the rest of the world, but on our own targets and goals. Proper diagnosis, prescription, and administration of interventions is critical. Africa needs to learn to prioritize. We need to prioritize the mindset transformation. How do you clean the minds of these bishops and university professors, and they begin to get back to the principles of Christianity, which are proper articulated in the Bible? How do we sanitize now, cleanse the professors who think about publications and PhDs, but they have been working for 40 years without a single book or a single product to themselves, and they retire in poverty. So we need to prioritize, and then we need to systematize. We need to create systems. Nothing replaces diligent work. Nothing replaces the grit. All innovators take time. We tend to want today's food. That's why we want miracles, because miracles are instant. But the world was not created like that. So that grit, the stability on the innovative pathway, we can learn from others, but we must have the courage to be original. Let's do it. And here we say, for God and my country.
I first met UMB when I was at the crossroads of my business. I had a serious problem, and UMB has made it possible for me to still stand today. How did they do this? They did not work and put me in a box. They looked at me as an individual and got a product for me which helped me to survive the period. Banks should look at it and see how they can also go that way to be able to meet individual customers, tailor products to suit the individual customers, and not to just box everybody together.
Welcome aboard the safest airline in Africa. With industry-leading safety measures to protect your well-being. The first in Africa to earn a diamond standard of safety. Offering a more contactless, safe, and seamless experience. Delivered with a smile by Africa's first fully vaccinated crew. Creating special memories that bring the joy back to flying, so you can continue making memories with your loved ones. Book your flight with RwandAir today. RwandAir, the safest airline in Africa.
RwandAir, fly the dream of Africa.
So we pick travelers. Our typical customers are people flying in and out of the country. So we pick those from the airport to wherever they're going and back. And we do this through a network of driver partners for whom we give regular business and improve livelihoods. They can book through WhatsApp, they can call us, they can email us. We just try to make it as simple and convenient, as seamless as possible for our customers.